Welcome back to Talk Horror to Me, the only horror movie review podcast that knows better than to invite people into our home. With that being said, and before we bring on Carly and possibly Brooke, let's see what we're looking at tonight. Tonight we review It Comes at Night. It Comes at Night is a 2017 American psychological horror film written and directed by Trey Edward Shults. It stars Joel Edgerton, Christopher Abbott, Carmen, Ejogo, Kelvin Harrison Jr., and Riley Keough. Shults began writing the film after the death of his father as a way of coping with his grief. He also cites Pieter Bruegel the Elder's 1562 oil painting The Triumph of Death as inspiration, featuring it prominently in the film. And It Comes at Night, after a mysterious apocalypse leaves the world with few survivors, two families are forced to share a home in an uneasy alliance to keep the outside evil at bay, only to learn that the true horror may come from within. Speaking of true horror, here's Brooke and Carly. What's going on, girls?
Hey.
Not much. Just I'm still okay. You explained the title a little bit better for me.
We will dive into that in one moment, just one moment, and because I'll pick on you first. But I picked this film. It Comes at Night. I was looking for something psychological, a little like suspenseful, and also the trailer made me think it was going to be like more rare than it was. Yeah. But enough about what I think. Carly, you're nodding your head profusely. Tell us everything you want to know about it.
Oh, the title was misleading for me. To me, it sounded like a monster movie. It Comes at Night. What is it? It really sounded like a monster movie. But as you were saying in the description, maybe the monsters are people. Yes. And the dog died. This was the first time I wasn't like, don't kill the dog, don't kill the dog. The dog was dying. So let him rest.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
And I'm not, every death was justified, I feel.
Justified or
no, not justified. That's not the right word I'm looking for. I got upset when the child was killed.
Spoilers.
It's from 2017.
People die. People die in this movie.
Everybody died.
It was not a happy ending, but it was the way I feel it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Brooke, how about you?
This movie was boring. The movie was boring to me. It took me a few tries to watch it. I watched it 3 times before I actually paid attention to it. It was just not my cup of tea. Again, I don't know. I didn't like it that the child died. He got shot in the back, so that pretty much was a wrap for me after that.
Okay, first of all, that happens like 95% into the film. So don't make that the reason why all of a sudden you didn't like it.
I don't know.
It was the dog.
I think for Brooke, if it doesn't have like a full-on supernatural stalker serial killer in it, then she's like, whatever. I'm out. All right. I mean, I respect that. You like your genres. So, who am I to tell you different? But I will tell you different. And by that, I mean, I liked it. I did.
To let y'all know, my internet is fucking up.
Okay. All right. We will keep that in mind. If Carly drops off, we know that it was all her fault. For me, the film I liked because I love like low boil, simmering, psychological, post-apocalyptic thriller, even though the apocalypse was barely seen in this film other than at the beginning with the grandfather and at the end where we see it. I love isolationist movies. Like this is very much like The Shining in a lot of ways, where you have a cast of characters in the middle of nowhere. They're rationing food. They're having to deal with each other. And in this case, the only difference is instead of it being one family, like in The Shining, it's two completely different family units, all trying to look out for their own. They both have kids. There's a child in each, one a little bit older, one younger, mother, father figure. So you get a lot of like kind of the push and pulls, like, we may be a guest in your house, but I still want to have autonomy about protecting my own family. And so I think that's what really drives a lot of the tension in this film. And the mistrust and the paranoia. I love when there's like a steep, like paranormal curve where paranoia curve where everybody's like freaking out and like getting more distrustful. I love that. So for me, that's what kept my interest. It wasn't them, teaching the kid how to chop wood. It wasn't like talking about how the grandfather has all this acreage. Like all that was just filled for me. But it was really about like at night, because it comes at night, Carly.
Okay.
It's like this, like the strange kind of sleepwalking aspect of it. Is he dreaming? Is he sleepwalking? It was what's real, what's not real. So I think that actually lends to, if you really open yourself up to what it could be, I think that makes the ending better than otherwise just kind of following a straight narrative. So what about Brooke? I feel like you're ready to say something.
No. I guess I kind of agree with you a little bit. It kind of reminds me of 28 Days Later a little bit, and that's what I do like about it. But it's still, I have to be in the mood for these type of movies that y'all picking. I'm just like, y'all picking the movies that are not at the right time.
Well, Brooke, you gotta just tell us when you're in the mood, and we'll save this movie just for that time. That's all. So apparently, we already figured out Brooke's con. That she wasn't in the mood. So, Brooke, tell me, since we already know the con of this film for you, what is one pro of this film for you?
A pro of this movie, I guess it just reminds me of 28 Days Later. Like, I like the isolation and the virus that comes and kills them, I guess. I like it just reminds me of 28 Days Later.
Without the zombies, of course.
Yeah.
Although, were there really zombies in 28 Days Later? I know it was more of a virus, kind of a rage virus, so they really weren't dead. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
I don't know. I've never seen that movie.
We'll get to it. We will get to it just for you. Carly,
we will.
Give me a pro and give me a con.
The pro is the premise of it. The whole premise of the movie, it was fantastic. I love psychological horror. I just do. Emma, can you hear me at all?
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking. And my con was the little boy dying.
So for you, Carly, if a child or a small puppy dies,
the little boy dying was my con.
Okay. But so for Brooke, her con is always going to be I gotta be in the mood.
Both.
And then for Carly, if there's a child, any kind of small animal or child killed, always a con. Got it. All right. So that doesn't leave much for me. I mean, for me, pro is I also like the psychological drama of it. I like the isolationism of it. I like kind of the actors and actresses that
did a good job.
They did a fantastic job.
Riley Keough was awesome.
Yeah, they had a good chemistry. Even though the chemistry is supposed to be very strained, you could tell that there was a lot, quote unquote, a lot of love between the characters and like protection and want to protect people within a family unit. Even at the very beginning with the grandfather, I think was very poignant. And I believe that kind of mirrored at the ending as well, when the son's going through all his kind of delusion or, whatever was happening with him at the end. So I thought that was well done. Another plus was the architecture of the house, because they show you the house from the exterior, and then they show you like that long hallway, the attic, the dining room, and you look at all these locked doors. You're like, how do all these things connect to each other? It seems so like kind of puzzle-ish in a maze, and I love the fact that you never get a good layout the interior makes it a little more claustrophobic and weird because you can't connect those pieces. And I think that was very much intended. My con, I mean, Carly, I have to disagree with you. I agree with you what you both said and disagree with you. Every death mattered in this film, which I think is what you're trying to allude to. As tragic as it was, I think that it was just the next logical step for what was going to happen. I think the con was that in some ways it was a little too abstract. Like, because we go toward the third act, quote unquote, not knowing who opened the door, who unlocked the red door. I think that's intended, but I also think that it was just a little too abstract to like kind of pin the ending. And for me, like if I Wikipedia figure it was a night thing explained, then for me that's kind of lost a little bit because I couldn't figure it out on my own, or I had an idea but I wasn't too sure. So, you know, again, they kind of made it obvious where it's like the little kid could not have reached the lock. So that makes sense. So really there's only other thing is like, well, is sleepwalking involved? Is the dream state not necessarily sleep paralysis? So there's a lot of things that play for the kiddos in this film. So that would be my con, just because, you know, if I think too much, then sometimes it takes me out of the film. But with that said, I think what we need to do is get right into our favorite. So sorry, I just had my sound effect ready to go. So Carly, name one favorite moment in this film.
I know it's not like a big part of the film, but that whole montage about how they're learning to live together, that whole, you know, them teaching each other stuff and getting to know each other. I liked that. I felt it was something that made me care about the characters. And I know it's not a big kill or anything, but it made me care. And that matters, especially towards, you know, the end.
Yeah. And if they had just put like an 80s pop song in there, like that, then it would have been a perfect montage. And how about you, Brooke?
Mine was at the end when they realized that they were gonna die eventually. They was just sitting at the table staring at each other. Good. They're like, they look sick, and they was just like, we're gonna die.
It just defeated. Yeah, you're right. That like that slow pan into the table. I mean, they do the cut shots and then the pan in. Just to see like kind of like we went this long by ourselves, and we, even though they lost Grandpa at the beginning. Yeah, that was kind of, I think that was almost indicative of the story. Like they got off in the woods, they were middle of nowhere, but grandfather still got sick somehow, some way. And then it's a matter of like, it was almost like a matter of time. It's like, even by yourself in the middle of nowhere with all your own rations, you can't ever make it positive unless you're living in a bubble. Like there's no way to actually not get it. So I agree with you, Brooke. I think that moment was amazing. And I think some of the creepy shots, creepy long shots of like that long corridor in front of the door, when they were like, people were banging on the door or like rummaging around when the guy broke in and they're all looking behind the corners, around the corners with the guns. There was like some really great just cinematography in terms of like the shadowing, the color palette, how they were like just kind of peeking around, just like it just kept drawing attention out with just a few little noises, a few little skittery like sound effects that like really got you amped up for what Carly would say the supposed monster that comes at night,
Right?
Which you were let down. But again, I guess maybe if a big sloth monster was in the pantry, that would have been cool.
What, you think a vampire is going to come at night or something?
And I didn't know. I had no idea. I mean, I liked the it being an illness that was killing everybody rather than, you know, a monster. But at the same time, the title just threw me.
Yeah. And also, I will say the poster, I thought would drew me into this film so hard, which is like the one flashlight with the dog in front, like, looking at whatever was in the darkness. I think also that kind of got me thinking it was going to be something a little more supernatural than it was. But I was not disappointed by it. I was maybe like, oh man, I wish it was a monster. But when you find out who the monsters are, then it seems to just work itself out. And also, I lived on Long Island, New York, when Sandy came through and the nor'easter came through, and we lost power for like 10 days, 14 days, and nobody could get gas. And like the anarchy that was ensuing after just a week was palpable. People with guns, like trying to get gasoline for themselves. It was, and that was after a week or two. Imagine a virus that puts you off the grid like indefinitely forever. And like the mistrust, I think that was another great moment too, where after the guy broke in, he ties him to a tree to see if he actually was going to be infected. And like the mistrust and the story he was telling you versus like something he said differently later on. So it just like sets the stakes like so high for like, I'll do anything to protect my family. And then my kindness is what actually got me in trouble.
Maybe they all had COVID.
Maybe. I just thought I want to know what happened to the dog.
Blood and
I just want to know. I want to see the prequel with like the dogs like running after a squirrel, a la Cujo, and then Cujo's gets bit on the nose by a rabid raccoon or something, and then comes back and kills everybody. I wonder what that's what happened to. What was the dog's name? I want to say Stanley. Was it Stanley? Yeah. So I want to know what happened to Stanley out there, and if it was really all his fault.
Well,
poor Stanley.
Stanley. He never had a chance, that kid. And he was such a good dog.
He was.
And I think that Stanley was also very much integral to like how we got presented the film, because he's running off, he's barking at things. He's the one. He is us. Stanley is us in this film. He is the one like scared of what's, or like he hears something in the distance in the night, and he's like focused on it. And I think he is what the director wanted us to believe was a true thing. Like whatever's out there is what's evil, is scary, is the problem, is the monster. And so Stanley was a nice misdirect.
Yeah. This one, it definitely took a page from Scooby-Doo. The real monsters are people.
If I hadn't been for you pesky kids, I would have got away with it too.
Man.
Right.
I mean, all right. Well, since it was my film, I guess I will close in on maybe some closing thoughts about it before we get to rating this thing. So everybody be ready. I want to say that it was a powerful film. It was simple. If you go in not expecting monsters or zombies or vampires or weird flying furry folk, I think you'd be okay. It's just like looking at isolated people and what they do when they're confronted with a dire situation and with each other. And in that way, I think it fully succeeded. And again, the narrative just seemed to be like, yeah, that's exactly how I see this playing out at the end of the day. So it's like everybody got what they deserved. Although I feel the family just wanting to get gone. Like, just let us go. Just let us go. I think that was probably the only thing that ripped at my heartstrings a little bit more, because the kindness that the family showed at the beginning, it was almost like, oh, you want me to show kindness again and like really feel stupid about what I'm doing for you. So I think that it just wasn't going to go any other way. I mean, pulling guns on each other. A lot of mistrust. Can't really do much.
I feel like I wouldn't have let them in. I would have just given them food and just let them go on their way. Like, I wouldn't have let them in. That sounds mean, though.
No, I mean, I agree. And also, yeah, I mean, but, when they already know where you are, that's kind of the key. Either you bring them in or you kill them. I mean, that's kind of like how post-apocalypse works. Is like once they know where you live, then you're already threatened like 100% of the time. Yeah. So, but that's just for us to say. We don't know. We don't live out in the middle of nowhere, but we do need to rate this thing. So, Carly, how would you rate this fine film?
Give me just a second. Well, I gotta admit, I didn't come up with anything snappy for this one. So I'm going to say, and I have to take off points for the puppy and the child. So we're looking at a 3.8 axes.
Okay.
Now, she doesn't mean ex-girlfriends. She means physical, I'm chopping wood with my axe. Okay.
Oh, it's because I forgot to come up with something. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I'm just, my head is already reeling. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out anything, but we'll see. So Brooke, how about you?
Okay, I'm gonna rate it a 2.5
Woo!
bloody throw up. Or throw up
Oh
blood.
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a good poll because there's a lot of black throw up in this film. I myself, I say I heard Carly. I hear you, Carly. I hear the points off. I hear you, Brooke. I understand this wasn't for you and not the right timing. I think I'm going to give this, and I don't want to really take points off because of anything you said, Carly, and I don't want to take points off because it's not your cup of tea, because it was a very solid film. It was a very, very solid film for what it was. So to take points off for anything, for me, it's always about like poor design, like weird flubs, and I can't really say anything about this film bad except for the like not really sure what happens at the end. It's like who contracted what and how. Did that deter me? No, not really. I looked it up later and kind of got a lot of ideas of what it could be. So I'm going to get it 4.5, and I'm going to get it 4.5 visqueen covered rooms, because that's where we keep all the people who are all sick and gross and dying. Sorry, Grandpa. I mean, I could have gone with like his hidden stash in the office. I could have gone with the red door, Stanley.
Yeah.
It could be 100 things, or even the chickens. I mean, they brought chickens back, so I had that.
They did.
They did. They got to have some chickens. But for me, I did love the film. Would I have gone to
I
the
didn't like it.
Wait, what, Brooke?
Was the virus airborne?
I don't know.
Oh,
It didn't
no?
seem like it. But yet we don't know what happened, because again, if the son did actually sleepwalk, open a door, find Stanley, and somehow come in contact with it, could have been contact based. But yet they were wearing masks a lot of the time, so it could be airborne because they were always wearing the protective mask while they were worried about somebody having it. So I think that it was airborne. I think Stanley brought it back. That's my opinion. And I think the son got it and then decided to give it to everybody else.
Yeah.
That's my guess. But yeah, 4.5 just because you made me think too much.
It was solid.
It was very solid. That's why I gave it 4.5 is a very solid.
You know
pull
how
for
I
me.
am about my
By
animals.
your youngins. Oh, I get it. I would never. If that's where you want to take points away, I'm never going to be one to tell you otherwise. Okay. So with that, and again, I think it's solid. I think it's for anybody who likes these type of films will enjoy it. I think it's quick, it's tight, it gets the job done, which is a little bit of like end of movie mystery. They're like, okay, I got to figure that out. But otherwise, yeah, I give it a go. That's why I gave it 4.5, because I still think it's well earned.
Well, I think people should watch it. Definitely.
I think so too. Except for people like Brooke who have to be in the mood.
You got to be in the mood for it. You definitely got to be in the mood for that type of film.
One episode we're going to dedicate an entire episode for how Brooke gets into the mood.
In the mood.
Dun, dun, dun.
But hey, enough about me. And because Brooke has to be in the mood about this next film, Brooke, what is our next film?
Well, this is because of Carly, because she hasn't watched it yet. The Shining.
Ooh.
With Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall.
Yes. Rest in peace, Shelley Duvall.
Yes. and I'm excited to watch this, finally.
You did not read the book, did you, Carly?
No.
Okay.
I did.
That will actually help you, I think, in this film. Because there is Kubrick's interpretation of it is different than the book. Well, now, while they did the miniseries on ABC a few years ago, probably like 10 years ago at this point, it was more faithful to the book, but actually I think people are so ingrained with the Jack Nicholson version that is always going to be the one to do. But that being said, awesome pick. Where can we find said movie, Brooke?
You gotta pay for it. It's on Voodoo.
What, pay for the knowledge or information?
You gotta pay for
You
the
gotta
movie.
pay to watch it.
All right. In this case, now Brooke is going to use Voodoo because that's the Voodoo she do so well. Yes, this is going to be one. Hopefully you have it in your collection. Hope you have it somewhere that you can get to it freely.
You've seen it.
Or have seen it 1,000 times like myself.
Yeah.
I could probably pull it up. But it's such a good movie to revisit every couple of years, I think, and it probably will be indicative of how I'm going to rate that movie once we do see it. But I read the book. I've seen the miniseries. I know all the differences between what should have happened and did happen. And even in Ready Player One, they used The Shining. Don't forget.
Yeah,
they did this.
did.
Yeah, it did. It was one of the puzzles.
Yep.
So, again, The Shining is pop culture, like it's lexicon these days. So,
wasn't it 1986 or was it 1976?
70.
70.
It was 76?
70s. It was
Let
in
me
the
look.
70s.
Okay, because in my head, I'm thinking 1982, but I don't know if that's true.
It's
I don't know.
1980.
Oh, all right.
Ooh.
That was
It was
close.
close.
Okay.
1980. Oh my God. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it should be so long ago. Oh,
Doesn't
my
seem like it
God.
should be almost 45 years old. Yes.
One
that's,
day.
Ow.
Charlie's like, I wasn't even born yet.
Actually, I was.
Yeah, I wasn't born yet.
Yeah, that's okay. These old people will be just fine.
Yeah, well, I'll take my Benadryl and put some Bengay on, and I'll get ready to watch it in my old recliner chair. Well, I'll just ask for somebody to put a blanket on me. Ooh, that's what I need. Yeah. And when I go to the kitchen, I'll get on my little rascal scooter.
Oh man.
Got a rollator walker.
Boom. See, Brooke, you're hanging with the old people. How you like me now? But with that being said, you know what, ladies, you are amazing. Even if Brooke is too young and from a whole other generation.
Different generation.
Different generation. But yes, she loves horror. And a lot of the horror that Brooke loves is my generation's horror. So I'm all for it. So, Brooke, what are you going to do to get into the mood to watch The Shining? That's my question.
I'm in the mood for it now. So.
Oh, damn.
So,
all right, I know what she's doing after she has dinner. She's going to watch
right.
it tonight, I think.
I'll
So,
do
how many
my-
times, Brooke, have you seen The Shining?
More than 20 times.
Wow. See, Carly,
Wow.
you got to catch up. You got to catch up.
I do.
I mean, I've only seen it probably 6 times, but 20 is pretty epic.
Shining is my movie.
All right.
You'll like it. You'll like it.
So I'm gonna put a number in an envelope and mail it to myself for the next week, and it's gonna say Brooke gave it a 5.25.
A 10.
I promise next time I will come up with something more original.
What? You come up with whatever you. Oh, you mean like for your rating scale?
Yeah.
You don't have a
It's
lot for this
fine.
one.
Yeah, there's plenty from the lexicon of The Shining to pull from.
Okay. Cool.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It is very visually gruesome and grotesque in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. There's a lot of weird things that happen. There's a lot of sound engineering that happens. There's a lot of things in this film that it seems super normal, but the way it's shot is super creepy. So
Yeah.
you will enjoy.
I know the one thing I know about it is red rum.
And Johnny's
what?
home.
Well, first of all, okay, Brooke, now you're embarrassing me. Because Johnny's not home. It's here's Johnny.
Here's
Oh yeah,
Johnny.
here's Johnny. Here's Johnny.
Carly, she said she's
When
watched this 20
Does
times.
the axe. He does the axe in the window. I mean in the
In the door.
Yeah.
In the door panel.
All right.
But
I'm
you'll
looking
like it.
forward to this.
Like there's probably so much of it, Carl, you've already seen just by
Yeah.
seeing other things that
Okay.
you'd be like, oh, I remember that. How do I know that? Oh, I remember that scene. Because it's like there's
Well,
like
I
5
did
scenes
Watch
that
the
are
sequel. So
the Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
yeah, Dr. Sleep.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to inform you as much, but there's so many things that have been seen in clips that you're like, oh, I remember that part of the film. Oh, I remember when you said that. And you're like, but how did I not see this film? But I yet have no half of the film.
Yeah.
That's why I think let me know if that's what happens to you when you come back.
Okay.
Okay. All right, great. Well, love to you both. Thank you for another
Love,
amazing
love.
Sunday. Oh, look at how good you're doing. And because you're doing so well, you're out of here. How about that? And with that said, thank you again for joining us again on a Sunday night. And always remember, we are here to scare you later.